Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us to stay curious today. We're so glad that you've chosen our nonprofit to be a landing point for your podcast. And we are happy that people on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, we're on Spotify on a video podcast, and we're on audio on Google and Apple. So check out those platforms. Tell your friends to like, share, follow, subscribe to us. It's important to our nonprofit to reach out around the world and let people know that we are a unique facility that houses some of the rarest things you'll ever find, one-of-a-kind objects that celebrate the birth of the American space age right here in Brevard County. And we're sitting in our studios here in the American Space Museum in downtown Titusville, just 9 miles away from where we saw a beautiful launch off Pad 39A last night. Marty Winkle, my cameraman, co-producer, and friend, is behind the consoles there doing our Streamlabs production. And something that we're grateful to Jessica Galloway, our Trekkie Techie, for teaching us how to do. And she's always just a phone call away when we need her. But Marty, we've been doing pretty good by ourselves. And today we're going to celebrate and look back again at the shuttle launches of January. And we're going to celebrate the January 16th launch of STS-107 Columbia. And of course, we know that it had a fabulous 16-day mission, and then we lost the crew on reentry because of a hole in the wing that was punched in during launch. So many books and comments have been made about that over this last 19 years that we at the American Space Museum and Stay Curious are taking the high road on our tragedies of the month of January and emphasizing the positive science that came out of STS-107 and the wonderful people that were involved in all of the tragedies that claimed 17 people, Apollo 1, Challenger, and Columbia, of course. We want to celebrate their lives as the wonderful humans that they were. Marty and I've met many of the friends of these astronauts and astronauts themselves, and it's important to us that we really emphasize that they accomplished their mission of STS-107 did. They knew the dangers, and they gave all. And we will celebrate our fallen astronauts here at Sandpoint Park in downtown Titusville, just a block away from Spaceview Park, where all the astronauts' handprints are in bronze, the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo ones. We will celebrate that Saturday, January 29th at 11 o'clock, and we'll take you with us as Stay Curious will do a special presentation with the city of Titusville to bring you at 11 o'clock this important, patriotic, and very reverent ceremony to celebrate the lives of our fallen astronauts. Today we want to celebrate the things they did. Marty, here's the space shuttles of January, 10 of them. And we're going to do this at the beginning of every month and then use it that we can come back to and talk about programs. 5 of the 10 had 7 crew members, about as full as you can get. 5 of them landed at Edwards. 3 landed at Edwards Air Force Base and 5 landed at Kennedy Space Center. And of course, Challenger was lost at launch, and we didn't make it back for Columbia's landing. Of the missions, 54 humans were orbited in January, spending 78 days in space. All 5 orbiters were launched, and we know that Challenger didn't make it to space. 4 of the missions deployed satellites, and including one Department of Defense mission, a top secret one. In fact, the first one there, STS-51C, launched January 24th in 1985, was the first DoD mission. 2 missions went to Mir. As you see there, we had 81, and the other one was 89, went to Mir and dropped off an astronaut and picked up another one. We had 2 night launches and 1 night landing at Edwards. So quite interesting when you look at the total every month, what went on. And as you stay curious with us, we'll find out what months had the most shuttles launched in them. And some of you know, and some of you will learn along the way. So, like I said, we wanted to celebrate the wonderful crew of Columbia, their insignia. microgravity there in the middle, the gold chevron. All of the shuttle patches mean something. And this is the only patch that was designed as the shape of the shuttle itself. How ironic is that? And you see the center has microgravity because that was experiments going on in the Space Hab. That right here behind me is Columbia orbiting the Earth during this mission with the Space Hab. Is covered with blankets there in front of me there. It was, of course, covered up by the payload bay doors. And this is where the astronauts spent a lot of their time doing an amazing marathon of science missions. And I'm gonna share with you some of the science they did there. Well, let's first tease you with experiments in the Space Hab. Included 9 commercial payloads involving 21 separate investigations. That means maybe a pharmaceutical company or other industrial complex put something in there. 4 payloads were for the European Space Agency with 14 different priority investigations. And 18 payloads were supporting the NASA's Office of Biology and Physical Research, some of those done on the bone density of astronauts, why their immune system is compromised in space. This is 2003, 19 years ago, when we were yet, the space station was in its infancy. In fact, we had Expedition 6 was on the space station at this time and date. Let me get the astronauts who were on Space Expedition 6 was Ken Bowersox orbiting the Earth with Don Pettit and Russian Nikolai Budarin were the 3 astronauts that were on our fledgling space station, still growing. And this Columbia mission was the only one scheduled to not go to the space station at the time it was launched. Well, here are the astronauts there having a little fun in their official photographs there. That's the commander, Rick Husband, who was on his 2nd mission. He was a pilot once and then chosen as a commander. I always find that quite intriguing to me of how they, what kind of smarts that took to be a pilot. Usually you're a pilot twice and then a commander. But let's shout out to the astronauts there. Is Dan Brown above Rick's head there, Dave Brown, excuse me. In the back is Kalpana Chawla with the long black hair, and Laurel Clark is there in the middle. And behind Laurel's shoulder there is Anderson, Michael Anderson, African-American there. The pilot is Willie McCool. And then Elon Ramon on the far right there with the Israel patch on him. He was Israel's first astronaut, still their only astronaut, I believe. And he was a national hero, a common name that everybody knew, Elon Ramon, in Israel, particularly when he was chosen to go to space. And so they were launched at 10 o'clock, a little after 10:39 Eastern Standard Time on January 16th, 2003. And, of course, the fateful re-entry was on February 1st after a 16-day successful science mission in 2003. They were able to send back most of the data, electronically was sent back. And, of course, some of the physical experiments and so forth that were compromised or destroyed in the failed re-entry. Here's the beautiful launch. I'm going to ask the USIAC brothers, Tom and Mark, that have photographed a lot of launches, over 60 at the Space Center. That's an unusual angle there, Tom. Not sure where that was from. I haven't seen any of your pictures there. And I don't think the guys were at that mission because they gave me a whole thumb drive full of pictures that I glanced through. But that's the beautiful launch on a beautiful morning, July 16th, 2003. But let's talk a minute here. We've got... as I get rid of one of our astronauts there. That was Mike Coates. We had, over the weekend, Marty, 3 astronauts born on January 16th, which, of course, was the launch of Columbia. And we're going to celebrate those birthdays. And then we had another birthday yesterday. as we have Mondays, we have Backyard Astronomy on Stay Curious, and Fridays, Tales from the White Room with Travis Thompson. That leaves me 3 days to get some space history in there. And we had a wonderful conversation yesterday with a real astronomer, Eric Perlman, who has done a lot of research time on the Hubble and all the other orbiting observatories, and he has got he's going to do work on the Webb telescope. So go enjoy a nice hour-long conversation. It went by fast, didn't it, Marty? With Eric Perlman, really a great guy from Florida Institute of Technology, and he's going to be our go-to real astronomer out there on spacey things. And we spent a lot of time with him, and he's a great guy. Go check Eric Perlman's stories out tomorrow about being an astronomer and what it's like to be on top of those mountains in Sierra Tololo, in Venezuela, and Peru, and Mauna Kea up there in Hawaii. So you'll enjoy that. Well, let's have a couple birthdays here, Marty. First up, happy birthday to this guy, Michael Coates. Michael Coates was born on this January 16th. 3 astronauts born, all right? First is Michael Coates. He was 76, born in Sacramento, California. Once a pilot and twice a commander, okay? And he became Johnson's Space Center director, the 10th director of the center in 2006 for 6 years. And what else have I got about Coates? He was pilot. Let's see, I think I got a picture of him. There he is as the Johnson Space Center director there. A few distinguished gray hairs there on him. He was the pilot of 41D in 84, Marty. That was aborted 3 times, including the first pad abort when the 3 SSME engines started. That had to be pretty harrowing in 1984. And then he's again a one-time pilot and then twice a commander. But in the early days, they didn't have that many qualified people, you know. But he was on 29 and 39, 18 days in space, obviously a wonderful guy being the director at the Johnson Space Center. Our next birthday that we celebrate, our belated birthday, Lloyd Blaine Hammond was 70 years old. He started orbiting the sun in 1952, born in Georgia, Savannah, but he considers St. Louis, Missouri his hometown, all right? In St. Louis, we hear a lot about because that's where McDonald Corporation was that built the Mercury and Gemini space capsules, and we'd love to hear more from you space workers in St. Louis. If you know any, have them watch Stay Curious. We'd like to maybe get you on one of our interviews one day. And Blaine Hammond here was a pilot twice, STS-39 and then 64 for 19 days in space. And interestingly enough, he flew on STS-64 when Michael Coates was his commander. In fact, Michael Coates was the commander for both Hammond and the next guy here, Jerry Linninger. So twice Hammond flew with a berthmate. Okay. Coates flew with a berthmate twice. Once Hammond and then once Linninger. Jerry Linninger is very well known as a motivational speaker. He was born January 16th, 1955 in East Detroit, okay? And so that makes Jerry 67 in 1970. Yeah, 67. He's 67, born in 55. And still a very young man. His first flight was 64, again with berthmate Blaine Hammond as his pilot. 143 days in space for Jerry Linninger, including 132 days on the Russian Mir space station, where he survived a harrowing fire on the space station in 1997. And there's a lot of documents about that. In fact, I was looking at his book we have in the library here. Linninger's book is Off the Planet. Very good astronaut book, and talks about his days on the Mir space station. He's a former naval flight surgeon, so he's Dr. Linninger, board certified in preventive medicine. There he is in a recent picture I took off his website where he's a promotional speaker at industry events, all kinds of topics he can cover. If you wondered how much an astronaut motivational speaker gets, his fees were right on his website, $15,000 to $40,000 to have this man speak at your next event. So, and would love to catch him out at the Astronaut Visitors Complex Center where they are having astronauts out there. So belated birthday to Mike Coates, Lloyd Hammond, Blaine Hammond, and Jerry Linninger there, who's all celebrated birthday Sunday. And then we've got, Marty, if I was going to ask you, who is the astronaut male that has the most time in space of all the male astronauts, all right? And I'll give you the clue away. Peggy Whitson holds the record as male or female of 665 days in space. Well, who holds the record? Marty guessed in our pre-production meeting there. You guessed Kelly, Scott Kelly, that spent 11 months on the International Space Station. His brother Mark, they both had 3 shuttle missions. But no, it's this man who celebrated a birthday on yesterday, Jeff Williams. Happy 64th birthday to Jeffrey Nails Williams, who was born in Superior, Wisconsin. He has 534 cumulative days in space, not all at once, okay? And he was on 3 expedition missions, becoming a commander of all of them, STS Expedition 13, 24, and 48. This is an Army, commissioned Army officer. He was on 101 also as a spacewalker with James Voss, and quite a guy. He really has the record of all the men in space. He surpassed Scott Kelly's record of 520 days on Expedition 47. So that's a great guess there, Marty.
Includes the Russians?
No, that does not include the Russians, Marty. That's American only. The Russian record is 800 and some days by, forget his name. But Russians got about the first 3 slots in everything, spacewalks and the cumulative time. But good question. This is Americans. And then Peggy Whitson's about 3rd or 4th all time with her 665 days. Williams is a very committed Christian from what I read about him. Following his return from Expedition 21, which was in 2009, he wrote the book, The Work of His Hands, A View of God's Creation from Space. And he reflects, the birthday boy Williams yesterday reflects words, the vivid lessons about the meticulous goodness of divine providence, God's care for his creation, and his wisdom in ordering the universe. So that's a very religious man there. Jeffrey Williams, believe he is retired, so he won't be adding anything. Proud resident of Winter, Wisconsin's where he grew up. And our Wisconsin friends, I wonder if they know where Winter, Wisconsin is there. We'll check you out there later. So happy birthday to those guys. We sure appreciate celebrating your birthdays and all that you do in the communities. We have over 300 American astronauts that are in our communities doing great things to not only talk about their careers, but inspire the next generation of space workers. Let me get a little sip of rocket fuel here from a cup I got at the U.S. Rocket Space Center. We've got a wonderful lady, Delania Yancey, who is, she actually lives there in Huntsville at the Rocket Center, and she's involved with Space Camp. Delania, thank you for staying curious. We have published a few of her pictures that she has sent us, including a beautiful picture of Apollo 16's command module Casper, looking just like a jewel box in the case that it's in there, where the giant Saturn V rocket is at Huntsville. So let me get a sip of this. And let me consult the shuttle scroll here for our STS-107 launch. Of course, it was launched by Mike Leinbach. Let me pull up here a couple pictures of the crew to talk about the wonderful science they did. Here's the crew. That's in front of the Space Hab. I guess that would be in the SSPF, Marty, Space Station.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it is. I'm guessing it's in Houston.
That would be in Houston, obviously, to the training in Houston in there. But here's the real deal. In the space station SSPF, Space Station Processing Facility, one of the giant buildings over there around the VAB. This is the Space Hab. I thought this was an interesting picture. It shows it in the cargo bay there. You see the tunnel where they go. Marty, would you like to show the tunnel there and use our little crooked arrow? You see the tunnel there on the bottom. And what I find interesting, I see a hatch on that tunnel, Marty, way to the far left over there, which leads to the conjecture that at the top, nope, up above, the little, there, no, left more. In fact, right there, my hand's on it right there, where my hand is right there. There's that could be a hatch access into the shuttle without opening up the cargo door. That is a rescue of the crew. It could have been done. There's some conjecture about that. Mike Leinbach, who launched this, seems to think that a rescue effort could have maybe been tried. And you would need an access point there where the astronauts were not exposed to space. And there it is right there, Marty, closing the door on the back side of the lower bay there to go in there. But we'll get Triple T to talk about that. And we can't emphasize we're not taking the tragedy lighthearted, okay? It brings me to tears to see these beautiful people every day in our museum and think it's 19 years ago that we lost them. Here is Michael Anderson inside doing his thing there and in the Space Hab. And around him are such experiments as, let me see. Those are the birthday boys there. There's my notes on the Space Hab. He's got surrounding him there all kinds of equipment to do physical sciences. There was so much science going on in here that they broke up into two teams. The red team was Rick Husband, Kalpana Chawla, Laurel Clark, and Elon Ramon. And then the blue team was Willie McCool, Dave Brown, and Mike Anderson. So there's 4 on the red team, 3 on the blue. They slept different cycles. They could do that because they could actually sleep in the lower bay of the shuttle cabin and shut the door basically and not hear them going on there. So here was what was happening in the Space Lab and here there's, of course, the crew outside the hatch on a day where they were at Kennedy Space Center there. This is an actual mission report status on day 3. All right, today's mission would have been day 3. A radiometric camera and a video camera were aimed at the Atlantic and the Mediterranean as part of the Mediterranean-Israeli dust experiment. Elon Ramon was conducting these dust experiments to see if they could detect how fine the molecules they could detect, and then learn about the how air and how they cling to the atmosphere to create these dust storms and so forth. So find that very interesting. Another experiment was studied the movement of calcium through the body to further understand bone loss in space. They begun that study on the 3rd day, and they were kind of conducted for at least 10 days. So this 2-week mission, very long for a shuttle, okay? 10 days is a lot of shuttle missions. There's probably a dozen that pushed out to the 16-day limit of the 135. Astronauts took oral calcium tracers that will be monitored over the course of the mission to examine how calcium metabolizes in the body. So they become the guinea pigs on a lot of experiments, particularly the physical experiments of your blood and cell tissues and stuff like that. Shortly after 2 o'clock on this day in history, the red team took part in their first experiment scheduled to talk with reporters. They took time out from an experiment to talk with reporters on CNN, CBS News, and Fox News Channel live. So how cool is that? Asked about the importance of the flight to Israel, Elon Ramon, Israel's first astronaut, commented that he views the mission as, quote, an opening for great science for our nation, unquote. So we are very grateful of the science that these astronauts did. There was an experiment that looked at technique for encapsulating anti-cancer drugs in capsule form to improve their efficiency. The European Space Agency had 7 in-flight experiments and 1 ground-based on the cardiopulmonary changes that occur in astronauts. And the Space Lab was also making it possible for universities, companies, and other government agencies to do important research in space without having to provide their own spacecraft. In other words, pay a company like United Launch Alliance or now SpaceX to put their experiment in space. That was a big deal about the science on the cargo bay, as well as the science being done on the space station today. So, well, we want you all to remember these beautiful people. We're going to talk about them more for the next week. Next week about some of the experiments they did to not let anyone forget that their mission was pretty much a wonderful success. They did everything they wanted to do, and they lost their lives with that satisfaction, unknowing the danger they were in when they re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. 10 space shuttles of January, Marty, and we've got a few more to go through next week. STS-42, 89, 51C, and of course the launch of 51L, the Fateful Challenger mission. And all we have to say is Columbia and Challenger, and that echoes in all of you space lover, the connotation of those disasters. But you got to take to heart that Columbia had 10, Columbia's, I forget exactly how many, 23 missions with Columbia, 10 missions for Challenger, 9 successful ones, pushing the envelope to space to do the things we're doing today on the International Space Station. Well, I'd like to say a shout out to Thibault Bertrand, a new follower that Marty just handed me, and C. Marie Stewart has liked our program today.
Maurice.
Marie Stewart. Okay. So thank you, Marty, for shouting out to some of our friends out there around the world that are staying curious with our wonderful program here. Please tell your friends again on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Spotify that we're live 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on weekdays. And we will be transferring this audio to Google and Apple for people that love audio podcasts in your car. A good place to not watch our video podcast is when you're driving. So anything else, Marty? Thank you for smooth sailing today, and we shout out to Jessica Galloway, who's always willing to help us behind the scenes here. She's taught these 2 old dogs new tricks, and we're so grateful for that. There's Columbia orbiting the Earth, folks, and there is the only border that matters, the thin blue line of outer space in our atmosphere, keeping us alive here. Because after all, like Nicole Stott tells us in her Stott-isms, 1, we are Earthlings, 2, we are on a planet, and 3, the only border that matters is that one right there, folks, the thin blue line that keeps us alive. So we hope to see you tomorrow with a special birthday of an incredibly special man, and he's one of the oldest of all the astronauts living, to tease you out there. So come back tomorrow. And Marty's not going to let me go out.
One more new name I haven't.
Okay, Marty.
Abar, E-B-A-R, Durholz from Chile.
Abar Zerholtz from Chile is watching us. God bless you for finding Stay Curious Abald. And you want to see our Eric Perlman astronomer, because he's been on those gigantic mountains with the observatories in Chile there. What was it?
Looks like ABAR, ABAR,
A-Bar.
New Halls.
A-Bar Newhalls. All right.
With the Z.
Oh, okay. A-Bar Z-Halls.
Zoo Hall.
Zuhal. Well, you'll see his name in the comments there. But thank you all for staying curious with us, as I had a great way to lined out there. But it's so important that we let you know that we recognize you. We need your help financially from time to time. We're a nonprofit. This is a great place for your tax-deductible chunk of money to come to us at any point in time. So, but Marty, let me wind up again a great outro there that we want y'all to come back tomorrow. We've got a wonderful birthday, and I've teased the heck out of it. Some of you may know who it is, but we're going to do a little special program on this gentleman tomorrow. So please, on behalf of our whole American Space Museum here in downtown Titusville, Florida, thank you, Marty, for the good work you're doing. I'm Mark Marquette, and we will see you tomorrow to bridge the space between us.